Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Toriko Unveiled. It's been quite some time, hasn't it? I hadn't realized it'd been 3 months since I dropped the episode for this series. So today, we're gonna get your skin crawling and talk about a specific bug user. But before, leave a like on the video and show me your appetite. In anime and many popular fiction, we have infinite variations of powers, but one that specifically stands out is insect manipulation. Long in humanity's memory, bugs have dwelled, hundreds of trillions of various species throughout the planet, and the real-life example of this comes into the fact that even ants actually make up roughly 20% of Earth's animal biomass. There's various characters throughout anime like Shino from Naruto, Muraku from Inuyasha, Clancy from Ben 10, or Koji from My Hero Academy. Characters that can tap into this ability actually possess droves of these creepy crawlies and can overwhelm opponents, shield themselves from catastrophic attacks, and even plan and lay strategy with these bugs. But there's a drawback. Traditional insect users aren't keen to physical combat, and our guest today is no exception, well, until he gets mad. Say hello to Sous chef Tommyrod, perhaps the strongest insect user in all of fiction, and I'll explain why. Tommyrod might look like he's a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure character with a uniform reminiscent of a polka-dotted stag beetle, but as sous chef of the Gourmet Corps, Tommyrod is an incredibly capable fighter with jurisdiction and ruthless authority over those beneath him. First appearing in the Ice Hell arc of Toriko, Tommyrod is introduced as a literal apex predator. When Toriko and his group first made landfall in Ice Hell, a continent where temperatures dropped well below freezing, they encountered the Tundra, a beast said to be the gate guardian of Ice Hell, dead, frozen actually, and inside it just, casually hibernating was Sous chef Tommyrod. This would be the first hint of his actual power level, as Ice Hell is a place where your breath freezes instantly when you exhale, where large shards of glass the size of arms are thrown simply by the wind, and lastly a place where even in thermal gear, people literally freeze while walking. Tommyrod can casually stroll about Ice Hell with an almost clear immunity to the cold, and it's never explained, but I imagine he had already figured out environmental adaptation with his gourmet cells like most Toriko characters would have to do later in the gourmet world. Even Toriko was on guard after seeing the dead Tundra Dragon, knowing that something much worse lurked out in the snow. Unlike your usual insect summoners, Tommyrod does not simply attract the native bugs or insects to him, he quite literally bursts them. And I mean that in the most grotesque way possible. Well, the grossest way would involve butt stuff, but we're not gonna get into that. Tommyrod is an incredibly unique biological specimen. He can store, at the time of Ice Hell, 10,000 insect eggs of varying capture levels and launch them out for specific purposes. The insects obey his every will as if they are extensions of him, so you can think of them as his children that he most definitely neglects. Now, in terms of these insects' power, we'll start with the first ones he's shown to summon, each having capture levels over 30, with 39, 35, 37, and 40, and we need to take heed to understand exactly what capture levels mean. I stated in my previous video that creatures like the Troll Kongs at capture level 9 can fend off armored tanks and highly trained soldiers. The Devil Snake Toriko fought in the Pufferwell Caves came in around level 25, and is literally dwarfed by the creatures Tommyrod summons on his first showing. The Regal Mammoth, a literal kaiju, a creature with city-like sized mazes within it, and the adult was only measured at a capture level 48. The use of his bugs come literally like a toolbox as well. Aside from obviously extremely predatory and violent species, Tommyrod also has bugs that expand his own utility, starting with demolition-style bugs known as bomb bugs, who even with a low capture level, are activated by his spark cricket, which acts as a remote detonator for the bombs, and these explosions are capable of collapsing the foundational pillars of Ice Hell. He can produce swarms of massive drill-like beetles that move fast enough to severely injure several trained gourmet hunters, and even dodge and injure Toriko. And he can also seemingly detect when these bugs engage in combat almost omnipotently, as he can call them back to him telepathically. And he is also capable of sending after people like attack hounds. Keep that in mind, as Tommyrod has openly stated that he only uses his bugs because he despises having to crush trash with his own hands. Despite that, the first time he met Toriko, he hugged him and stabbed him in the abdomen, before further commencing the slaughter of Kamatu's formerly unorphaned penguin. As per his sadistic personality, they were being too loud. And ironically, Tommyrod also made the statement that they call him Tommyrod, so there's a chance that his true name is actually unknown, could just be Tommy. Now, outside of the GT robot skirmish with Starjuan and the play fight that Toriko had with Grimpotch, his battle with Tommyrod was actually his first showing of a true one-on-one fight with a gourmet vice chef. And Tommyrod unleashed a massive display of power feats throughout the even just start of this arc. He killed the Tundra Dragon, a creature with a capture level higher than the Regal Mammoth. His bomb bug shattered entire sections of the Ice Hell continent, and getting into the battle, he stopped Toriko's tenfold spike punch, which earlier in the arc shattered a Titanic-sized piece of ice. Also in this battle, Tommyrod displayed that he can launch the bug eggs after heating them up within his own body, essentially firing miniature bombs. These bombs so powerful they can quite literally take the limbs off a Heavenly King like Toriko. And the real unique thing about Tommyrod is his biology, and I'm going to talk about this several times throughout the video. His biology being akin to a literal human bug. Tommy has compound eyes, infinitely stronger than that of any insect. With a literal million-lensed eye, he can see and respond to microscopic levels of movement and even detect changes in the electromagnetic spectrum. So basically, to give you a fair comparison, we'll compare it to the world's apex bug known as the dragonfly. Dragonflies are kind of near perfect, not having to have evolved for millions of years. Their compound eyes contain 30,000 facets, or individual lenses, which for them is like having 10,000 eyes backed up by another 30,000 photoreceptors. They can see in full 360 and detect spectrums of light that no other creature can. And quickly, let me explain this line of insect biology. Most insects have compound eyes, which are curved arrays of microscopic lenses. Each tiny lens captures an individual image to paint an overall picture for the insect. This is why when you go to swat that pesky fly, it suddenly has the Sharingan. Now on this same note, Tommyrod's eyes are made of 1 million different lenses. This by itself puts his perception at an incomprehensible level, making me wonder how fast are the battles in Toriko, because he clearly does get hit. Once serious, Tommyrod gets into battle and he stops using his insects and he bares his fangs. Literally. Massive fangs unfold sorta like a vampire, and these are sharp enough to take chunks out of Toriko. Tommyrod's reactions were on par, if not surpassing Toriko's in their first encounter, and at this point in the battle, already having taken several Kuji punches, he also had already laid claim to Toriko's arm, and this is the first time afterwards that Toriko witnesses his true power as Tommyrod removes his restraints. At full power, Tommyrod's size dwarfs Toriko, and he absolutely blitzes the one-armed Heavenly King. This not necessarily being a power-up, but more of a case of power limiting, meaning before even fighting at full strength, he took one of Toriko's arms and severely damaged him. In this I'll call berserker state, Tommyrod absolutely bodies Toriko up until Toriko, realizing his earlier attacks, invents the leg knife and, as an eye for an eye goes, takes Tommyrod's arm. And even this and a leg fort which left several holes in Tommyrod does not stop him. Realistically, he won this fight and was nowhere near finished, but due to the intervention of Tepai, the little grandson of Knocking Master Jiro, the planet stopper, Tommyrod tragically loses and is subdued, and once again, even on the verge of defeat, unleashed his ultimate bug, the Parasitic Emperor. With a capture level of 81, it is a creature that nearly kills him on release, and this insect, he admits, it's even ferocious. This is already the strongest beast we've seen in the show so far by capture level, and with scorpion venom, explosive gas, ice breath, silk ensnaring, and massive bladed limbs, this thing alone would be similar to a tailed beast in Naruto. This monster proceeds to battle the strongest creature in Ice Hell, known as the Hellboros, the ruler of Ice Hell, with a capture level of 72. Though it was not stronger than Tommyrod's Emperor, which had already molted and grown even stronger. This monster battle of titanic proportions led to a bout of destroying the entire continent of Ice Hell. Okay, I'm kind of exaggerating that a little bit, until they're both one-hit KO'd by the Gourmet Corps elite named Alfaro. Now this is where you might assume the video ends, but nah, we're not doing that around here. Going further, after being rescued by the Gourmet Corps, much like Toriko, Tommyrod goes on to get his arm back and further enhance his abilities in insects, and then participates in the Gourmet Corps siege of the World Cooking Festival, where Tommyrod, awakened, came to blows with one of the less featured Heavenly Kings, Sunny. And in this battle, we get the real damn numbers on how powerful is Tommyrod. Beginning the battle by releasing a bug with a capture level of 100 that cuts Sunny's hair, Now, if you haven't seen my Sunny review, you might not know that Sunny's hair is not average. Being able to support literal tons and reflect millions of tons of pressure and force, Sunny's hair can reflect energy and light-based attacks like lasers and appetite energy as well. And during the start of this battle, he had just skewered dozens of Tommyrod's other high capture level bugs. Tommyrod not only had bugs capable of snipping this incredible hair strength, but also was yanking them out by the fistful from Sunny's head and honestly beating Sunny's ass. For Sunny to have his hair pulled out is the equivalent to having a tooth ripped out without anesthesia, and he was losing thousands of strands. Tommyrod dodged the same feelers which are only detectable with ocular enhancement like Tommyrod's compound eyes or special abilities. These feelers are so fine that Sunny can take over creatures' nervous systems and use their body like puppets, and Tommyrod could see and dodge these feelers. In terms of bugs, Tommyrod can lay siege single-handedly with beasts stronger than anything in the Toriko human world, and his own fighting strength is on par with so far 2 of the Heavenly Kings, and I doubt he wouldn't prove a matchup for Coco or Zero. Bonus fact, he can also harden his wings to be stronger than steel and deflect Sunny's hair spit. And during his fight with Tepe and Ice Hill, we learn his biology is even further like that of an insect, as he has ganglia. Now, I'm not going to explain this in the most scientific way, but think of insect ganglia as separate nervous control centers in the body, all working non-stop to relay information and execute functions. Ganglia are the reason some bugs, such as the cockroach, can live without a head, or why various body parts will still move even after death. Think of a ganglia as separate brain centers for controlling different body parts. This is why even after Sunny cut his arm off or blew it off, it continued to move with Tommyrod's will and choked Sunny from behind. And even Tommyrod's arm was stated to have a capture level of no less than 200, which means his arm would absolutely destroy the entire human government and human world. But as all good villains do, Tommyrod sadly met his end during the gourmet cooking art, as he was defeated by Sunny when Sunny unleashed his Super Saiyan 3, Satan hair ability, that still barely gave him the win over Tommyrod. As the first hit, Tommyrod started adapting and reacting faster to the Satan hair, stating that Sunny was just too clumsy with it. But ultimately, he got baited into a final showdown with Sunny, where he is skewered and devoured by the Satan hair. A truly beautiful end for such an ugly and fascinating villain. Now, having heard all of that, I implore you to find a better master of insects. Tommyrod not only is an incredibly powerful character from the Toriko universe, having the exact same potential hacks level feats and effects like access to the back channel and blah blah blah, I'm not gonna do that this video, but it's also possibly the most dangerous bug user I've seen in any anime, manga, or bit of fiction. You let me know, maybe down in the comments, because leaving a like on the video really helps us in the algorithm, guys. Anyway. Get it. Peace out. See you on the next one.